Daf Yomi, Daf Yomi, Daf Yomi. Tractate Shevuos, page 48a, top of the page. Shevuos, Daf Memchet, Amud Aleph, top of the page, with the word Echad Omer Gavoa Shte Mardaot. Echad Omer Shalosh. So it's right in the middle of the idea. Sometimes I start anyway in the middle of an idea, but today I think I'll go back and give a preface. And we left off on Shevuot 47b, and it started on an idea which here it is, the last line was after Teku. Masiv Rav Huna bar Yehuda. That starts the idea. Rav Huna bar Yehuda raises an objection from a Braita. Okay? Now we're on the top of 48. Echad Omer Gavoa Shte Mardaos ואחד אומר שלוש, עדוסן קיימס, אחד אומר שלוש ואחד אומר חמש, עדוסן בטלה. ומצטרפים לעדוס אחרס. If one witness who came to testify about the new moon says that he saw it 2 ox goads high above the horizon, and the other one says it was 3 ox goads high, their testimony is valid, as a discrepancy of this type is reasonable. But if one says that he saw the moon 3 ox goads above the horizon, and the other one says it was 5, their testimony is voided. But despite this, they are not disqualified as witnesses, and neither of them may join in another testimony. My Lav le'edut mamon, amorave hu ve'acher, mitztarfin le'edus acheres, shel rosh chodesh, tihavelu trev echad, ve'en devarav shel echad b'makom shnayim. What? Is it not teaching that they can join with another witness for testimony about monetary matters, even though each of them is suspected of giving false testimony? This contradicts Rav Chisda's opinion. Rava said, explaining how Rav Chisda understands this Braita, he, one of the contradictory witnesses, and another witness may combine for another testimony about the new moon, as in doing so they will become 2 witnesses against one, testifying differently. And the statement of one witness has no standing in a place where it is contradicted by 2 witnesses. Amar lachem v'ni ten li v'ni be'erois kule Tanya Amar Rav Yehuda imatai bizman she'perois ציבורן ומנחין ושניהם נעוררים עליהם אבל הבשילון וקופתו לחויריו המויצי מחברוי The Mishnah teaches, if one said to a storekeeper, "Give me produce valued at a dinar," and he gave him the produce, and subsequently the storekeeper and the customer dispute whether the customer ever paid the storekeeper, the Mishnah rules that the customer takes an oath that he paid. It is taught in a Braita, Rabbi Yehuda says, when does the customer take this oath? He takes it when the produce is collected and situated in front of them, and the 2 of them are quarreling about it. But if the customer has it bundled in his basket on his back, the burden of proof rests upon the claimant, meaning the storekeeper. Amar leshulchani ten li kule utzericha di'yesh min hakaimata behach Ka'amri Rabanan Mishum de Peri Avidi de Markevi, Becheva de Markevi, La Meshahu Le. Aval Mois de lo Markevi, Ema Moidele, Le Rabbi Yehuda. The Mishnah continues with a similar case. If one said to a money changer, "Give me small coins valued at a dinar," and he gave him the coins, and subsequently they dispute whether the customer gave the money changer the dinar, the customer takes an oath that he paid already. The Gemara notes it is necessary to teach both the case involving the storekeeper and the case involving the money changer, as had it taught us only the first case, one might say that only in that case do the rabbis say that the customer may take an oath to avoid payment, because produce is prone to spoiling, and since it spoils, storekeepers do not retain it, but give it to the customer immediately. But with regard to money which does not spoil, say that they concede to Rabbi Yehuda that a money changer does not give coins to the customer until he has received payment, and the customer does not need to take an oath. V'i itmar beha beha kama Rabbi Yehuda, aval beha ema moide lehu Rabbanan tzricha. And had the ruling been stated only about that case involving a money changer, one might say that only in that case does Rabbi Yehuda say that the customer need not take an oath to avoid payment. But in this case, involving a storekeeper, say he concedes to the rabbis. Therefore, it is necessary to teach this dispute for both cases. כשם שמה פוגם כיסו בסוף וכולי, וכן היסויים לא ייפעו ממן עגלם מלויבה, עבורון שקיל בלשבוע אמינו בשבוע הרחמה, וכן היסויים מן היסויים לא ייפעו אלא בשבוע. The Mishnah teaches, C45a, just like other cases where the sages said that one takes an oath and receives payment, the Mishnah teaches a woman who vitiates her marriage contract, etc., and likewise orphans may not collect with the promissory note inherited from their father, except by taking an oath. The Gemara asks, from whom do they collect the debt by taking an oath? If we say that they collect this way from the borrower, meaning those who borrowed from their father, that would not make sense. Their father would take payment with the promissory note without taking an oath, and they collect only by means of taking an oath. Don't orphans have privileged status? Rather, this is what the Mishnah is saying. And even orphans do not collect with their father's promissory note from the borrower's orphans except by means of an oath. Rav Shmuel da'amritav vayehu lo yishon el shemeis malve b'chai loive aval meis lo b'chai malve k'ral nischayev malve lebnei loive b'shvuah ve'en adam moirish shvuah livana. Rav and Shmuel both say that the sages taught that the lender's orphans need to take an oath in order to be paid by the borrower's orphans only when the lender died during the lifetime of the borrower, and the lender's children had an opportunity to collect directly from the borrower without taking an oath. But if the borrower died during the lifetime of the lender has already become liable to take an oath to the children of the borrower, since one can collect from orphans only by means of an oath, and a person cannot bequeath an oath, meaning a debt that requires the taking of an oath in order to be collected to his children, and no payment is made. The lender's children cannot take the oath that the father would have taken that the promissory note has not been paid. The only oath they can take is that their father never told them that it had been paid, and that is insufficient once the father became liable to take an oath. Shalucha kamei Rabbi Elazar Shevuos zo matiba shelach lehu Yoshin ishboin Shevuos Yoshin v'noitlin shalchu b'mei Rabbi Yomi amar kulei hai shalchile ve'azlei I eshkachinen ba ta'ama milo shalchinen lehu ela amar Rabbi Ami ho'il ve'ata li'adan ima ba milta. The sages sent a question to Rabbi Elazar and Eretz Yisrael. What is the nature of this oath to the orphans of the borrower that it has the capacity to prevent the lender's children from collecting their father's debt? Rabbi Elazar sent a reply to them, that is not the correct ruling. Rather, the heirs take the heir's oath, and they have no knowledge that this promissory note was paid, and collect payment of their claim. They sent the same question again to Eretz Yisrael in the days of Rabbi Ami. He said, they continue to send this question to this extent. If we have found a different explanation, wouldn't we have sent it to them? Nevertheless, Rabbi Ami said, since this question came to us, let us say something about it. Bedin v'meis kvar nischayv malve livnei loi v'shvur ve'in adam moir shvur livonov lo amad bedin v'met Yehoshua v'nishbon shvur Yoshim noitim. If the litigant stood trial and then the lender died before taking an oath, the lender has already become liable to take an oath to the children of the borrower in accordance with the court's ruling. And a person cannot bequeath an oath to his children in accordance with the opinion of Rav and Shmuel. If the litigants did not yet stand trial and the lender died, the lender's heirs take the heir's oath and collects payment of their claim, as Rabbi Elazar said. Maskif lo Rav Nachman Atu beitin haka mechayv le'shvua midna d'shachim loive achayv le'malve levnei loive shvua. Rav Nachman objects to this. Is that to say that it is the court that renders the lender liable to take an oath? At the moment the borrower died, the lender was liable to take an oath to the children of the borrower. Ela amar Rav Nachman isa le'derav v'deshmuel isa ilei sei alma mesachele Tamam Yosef par Yomi aval Rav Nachman ovadai achaloiku idrov the Rabbi Meir kamar velesna sevira le. Rather, Rav Nachman said, if the ruling of Rav and Shmuel is accepted, it is accepted. And if it is not accepted, it is not. The Gemara asks, evidently Rav Nachman is uncertain whether the ruling of Rav and Shmuel is accepted. But didn't Rav Yosef or Yumi say that Rav Nachman ruled in an actual case against Rav and Shmuel, ruling that where both litigants are suspect about oaths, they divide the disputed amount? The Gemara answers, Rav Nachman stated his uncertainty with regard to the ruling of Rav and Shmuel, who rule in accordance with the statement of Rabbi Meir that the oath returns to its place, but he himself does not hold accordingly, but rather rules in accordance with the statement of Rav Yossi, who says that they divide the claim. Okay. Meisiv Rav Oshaya Meis Yehoshua Maskiren Es Ksubas Adeskrim Chamishadi Hachmaskina Shinish Meis. Rav Oshaya raises an objection from the Mishnah in Ketubot 104a. If a widow died, if a widow died without having received payment of her marriage contracts, her heirs, meaning sons of previous marriage, may invoke her marriage contract in order to demand payment of it for up to 25 years later. Wow. Her heirs who are orphans can take an oath. I would think that Shemitah would cancel it, no? Okay, maybe not. Her heirs who are orphans can take an oath and collect their claim, even though they are collecting from other orphans, in contradiction with the ruling of Rabbi Shmuel. The Gemara answers, here we are dealing with a situation where the widow took an oath but died before she could collect the payment. When her heirs come to collect, an oath is no longer required. Okay, Vaitel, Tashima, Nasoshan Mesa, Nasashnia Mesa, but Mace, who Shnia, Yoshia, Korbim Yoshia Shina, Achanami, Shinishma Mesa. The Gemara suggests, come in here in the Mishnah. Come in here in Mishnah. Ketubot 98. In a case where he married his first wife and she died, and by the terms of the marriage contract, her sons inherit the sum promised in her marriage contract after the husband dies. If he subsequently married his second wife and then he died, the second wife and her heirs take precedence over the heirs of the first wife in collecting payment of her marriage contract. The heirs of the second wife can collect the marriage contract by taking an oath to be the heirs of the first wife, stating that they have no knowledge of their mother having received her marriage contract, even though this is an oath bequeathed to them by their mother. This Mishnah therefore contradicts the ruling of Rav and Shmuel. The Gemara answers, this does not contradict their ruling, because they understood it to also being a situation where the second wife took an oath but died before she collected the payment. Tashima, Avol Yorshim The Gemara suggests, coming here another Mishnah, Ketubot 86b, if a husband stipulated that when his wife collects payment of her marriage contract, he will not impose an oath on her heirs or representatives. He may not impose an oath, but his heirs can administer an oath to her heirs and to those who came on her authority as representatives. Her heirs will take an oath to collect from the husband's heirs, though they are all orphans. This is contrary to the ruling of Rav and Shmuel, and here it is clear that the wife did not take an oath before she died. Amar of Shemaya, Rav Shemaya said, the Mishnah is in accordance with Rav and Shmuel's ruling because it teaches the administration of an oath disjunctively. Their heirs can administer an oath to her when she is receiving payment of her marriage contract as a widow, or they can administer an oath to her heirs when she is a divorcee and who died after the divorce and before her husband died. Since she died first, her heirs were not bequeathed an oath to her husband's heirs. May Rav Nachman Bar Hoshaya Yafe Koyach Abem Mikoyach. Rav Natan Bar Hoshaya raises an objection from a Braita. Sometimes the power of the son is greater than the power of the father. And now we turn to Mem Chesam and Beis 48b, top of the page, with the word Ben Gove, Ben Bishvua, or Ben Shilo Bishvua, Ve'a'av Eino Gove Ela Bishvua. Hechidami Demed Loi V'Bechayim Aleveh. Well, let's maybe go back to the beginning of the idea that Rav Natan Bar Hoshai raised an objection from a Braita. Sometimes the power of the son is greater than the power of the father. As the son can collect both by taking an oath without taking an oath and without taking an oath, while the father can collect only by taking an oath. What are the circumstances in which this occurs? It is when the borrower died during the life of the lender. The father, who is the lender, can collect from the borrower's heirs only if he takes an oath. V'katane שהבן גובה בן בשבוע בן שלא בשבועה בשבוע שבועות יורשים שלא בשבועה כרבן שמעון בן גמליאל. And it is taught, as the son can collect both by taking an oath and without taking an oath, he collects by taking an oath when he takes the heir's oath, that he has no knowledge that his father's debt was paid, and he collects without taking an oath in accordance with the opinion of Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel in the Mishnah, that when there are witnesses that the father said at the time of his death that a certain promissory note had not been paid, the son collects the debt without taking an oath. In any case, absent testimony to that effect, the father bequeaths the oath to his children, and the son can collect by taking an oath, contrary to the ruling of Rav and Shmuel. Amar Rav Yosef, Hamani Beit Shammai Damarishta, Oim Gavois, Kegavoy Dami. Rav Yosef said and responds, in accordance with whose opinion is this Braita? It is in accordance with the opinion of Beit Shammai, who say that a debt recorded in a promissory note that stands to be collected is considered as if it is already collected. Therefore, the father is considered to be already in possession of the loan and bequeaths it to his son. Even though the sages instituted that the son take an oath to the heirs of the borrower, this is not a case of the son inheriting an oath. Ikla Rav Nachman Esura Ol Legabe Rav Chizda Verav Bar Huna Amru Le Letemar Nekra Lehad Rav Ushmuel Amar Lehu Ikafli Ve'atai Kol Hane Parse Lemekre Leha Derav Ushmuel Ela Havu Delon Ase Ala Kigon, my Delmar of Papa, Apogem Eshtaro Vames. Yoshinish Boinj was Yoshim noted. It is related that Rav Nachman arrived in the city of Sura. Rav Chizda and Rama Bar Huna came to see him. They said to him, let our master come in, and together we will overturn that ruling of Rav and Shmuel. Rav Nachman said to them, did I exert myself and come all these parsangs to uproot that ruling of Rav and Shmuel? Rather, let us not extend their ruling by applying it to other situations outside the specific context of when the borrower died during the lifetime of the lender. The Gemara offers an example. This is like what Rav Papa says: if a creditor vitiates his promissory note by acknowledging that he has received partial payment and thereby rendering himself liable to take an oath in order to receive the rest, and then he dies, his heirs take the heir's oath and collect from the debtor. Hahu dishachiv ushvak alva savarav papa leme maharanami tilo losif alahu. Amale Rav Huna beredi Rav Yehoshua Rav Papa Atuav Alavasa Yasmil Zin. The Gemara relates, there was a certain debtor who died and left a guarantor of his debt, and the orphans of the creditor came to collect from the guarantor. Rav Papa thought to say, this too is a case to which one should not extend Rav and Shmuel's ruling, as they said only that orphans do not inherit an oath to collect from other orphans, and this should not apply to collecting from a guarantor. Huna, son of Rav Yehoshua, said to Rav Papa, is that to say that the guarantor will not pursue the orphans and collect from them? Ultimately, collecting from the guarantor is tantamount to collecting from the orphans, and no distinction should be made. Hahu dishachiv ushvagacha Sofer Rami Bachama Alemema Hanami Dilo Losifa Lahu Amale Rave Mali Shilo Pakitaniaba Umali Shilo Pakitaniachi. The Gemara relates there was a certain creditor who died and left a brother as his heir who wanted to collect from the orphans of the debtor. Rami Bar Chama thought to say that this too is a case to which one should not extend Rav and Shmuel's ruling, since Rav and Shmuel ruled that one does not bequeath an oath to one's children, and they did not mention a case where the heir is a brother. Rava said to him, "What difference does it make to me if the oath taken by the heir is, 'My father did not inform me that this debt has been paid,' and what difference does it make to me if the oath is taken is, 'My brother did not inform me'? Doesn't make a difference." Amar Chama Hashtat lo itma hitchazatla karav ushmuel delo karav Elazar. Rav Chama says, now the halacha was not stated either in accordance with the opinion of Rav and Shmuel or in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Elazar. A judge who rules in accordance with the opinion of Rav and Shmuel has ruled, and his ruling is accepted. And a judge who rules in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Elazar has ruled, and his ruling is also accepted. Amar Papa Haishtav Yasmi Lo Mikra Karina Le Velo Agavoy Magabinem Be Agavoy Lo Magabinem Be Dimas Viralan Kav Shmuel Umikra Lo Karina Le Tahaydaina David Kav Elazar. Rav Papa says, when that promissory note of orphans comes before our court, we do not tear it up, but we also do not collect the debt with it. We do not collect the debt with it, since perhaps we should hold in accordance with the opinion of Rav and Shmuel that orphans cannot collect debts in a case where their father was required to take an oath to collect, as they cannot take the appropriate oath. But we do not tear it up, since a judge who rules in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Elazar has ruled. Ahu Dayana de Avad Rabbi Elazar Avitsuva me Rabbanan bemete Amale Aitina Igarta mimarava Tilet Hilchata Rabbi Elazar Amale Lechitaite Atal Kamed Rabbi Chama Amale Hadaina de Avad Rabbi Elazar Avad. The Gemara relates, there was a certain judge who ruled in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Elazar. There was a Torah scholar in his city. He said to the judge, I will bring a letter from the west, meaning Eretz Israel, stating that the halacha is not in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Elazar. The judge said to him, when you bring such a letter, I will consider it. But for now, I stand by my ruling. The Torah scholar came before Rav Chama, and Rav Chama said to him, a judge who rules in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Elazar has ruled, and his ruling cannot be avoided. Ve'elu nishba'in atu b'shut fanei askinan hachi kama ve'elu nishba'in lo b'tanas bari el b'tanas shema hashutafin v'arisim. The Mishnah teaches, and these people are sometimes required to take an oath that they do not owe anything, even when there is no explicit claim against them. Partners, sharecroppers, stewards, a woman who does business from home, where she manages the property of orphans, and the member of the household appointed to manage the household's affairs. The Gemara asks, is that to say that we are dealing with fools who take an oath, even though no claim has been brought against them? The Gemara explains, this is what the Mishnah is saying. And these people take an oath without it being in response to a definite claim, but only to an uncertain claim, meaning the claimant cannot know with certainty that he is owed money. Partners, sharecroppers, and the others listed in the Mishnah. Tana Ben Bayis Shamru Lo Shinichnas Yoetz Beral Machnis Lo Poilin Moitzi Lo Poilin Machnis Lo Beiros Moitzi Lo Beiros. The sages taught in Braita to Sefta Ketubot 9.3 with regard to the member of the household whom they mentioned in the Mishnah. This is not referring to one who enters and exits the house on foot as a family friend, but rather to one who engages laborers and dismisses laborers, gathers produce, and sends out produce in managing the household. The Gemara asks, and what is different about these people listed in the Mishnah, for example, partners, such that they are liable to take an oath in response to an uncertain claim? It is because they tend to grant themselves permission to take for themselves from the property for which they are responsible, using as an excuse the effort they invest in their duties. Amar Rav Yosef bar Ben Yomi, Amar Rav Yosef bar Ben Yomi, Amar Rav Nachman, Yosef bar Ben Yomi said, Rav Nachman said, one takes an oath in response to an uncertain claim only when there is a claim between them worth at least 2 silver ma'ah, Kiman Kishmuel, Ve'atan Yochia L'Sayuel Rav, Ema Kefirat Tana Karav. The Gemara asks, in accordance with whose opinion is this ruling? Is it in accordance with that of Shmuel? Shmuel holds that one becomes liable to take an oath after admitting to part of a claim when the value of the entire claim is at least 2 silver ma'ah. Rav holds that the portion one denies he owes must be at least 2 ma'ah, see 39b. But didn't Rabbi Chia teach a Braita in support of Rav? The Gemara answers say that Rav Nachman means that the value of the denial of a claim is at least 2 silver ma'ah, in accordance with the opinion of Rav. Our mission teaches, once the partners or the sharecroppers have divided the common property and each has taken his share, then one side may not require an oath of the other absent a definite claim. A question was raised before the sages. What is the halacha without extending an oath to an additional situation in a case where the original oath is by rabbinic law? Tashema lo ve'emenu erav shviz u'nemasi shviz nase lo yishutafu aris ein megalgelim taima delava emenu erav shviz de'asai shviz afkaete ha-shash shnei Shevuos megalgelim. The Gemara suggests, coming here Braita, if one borrowed from another on the eve of, before the sabbatical year, and upon the conclusion of the sabbatical year became his partner or sharecropper, the lender may not extend the partner's or sharecropper's oath to an oath about the loan. The Gemara infers the reason he may not extend the oath is that he borrowed from him on the eve of the sabbatical year, so that the sabbatical year came and abrogated the loan, rendering the oath irrelevant. Therefore, if he borrowed during the other years of the 7-year sabbatical cycle, an oath may be extended from the partner's oath or sharecropper's oath, which are rabbinic ordinances, to an oath about the loan. Lo tema ha sha'ar shnei Shevuos megalgalim ela ema na'aseh lo shutaf o aris erev shvi'it u'demosei shvi'it laveh hemenu megalgalim. The Gemara rejects that inference. Do not say, therefore, if he borrowed during the other years of the sabbatical cycle, an oath may be extended. Rather, say that one should infer from the Braita that if he became his partner or sharecropper on the eve of the sabbatical year, and upon the conclusion of the sabbatical year, he borrowed from him and incurred an oath by Torah law, that oath may be extended. Ha-behed yaketani na'aseh lo shutafo aris erev shviz u'lemoitzei shviz lo vehemenu megalgalim shma mina megalgalim b'derabanan shma mina. The Gemara asks, isn't that taught explicitly in the Braita? It teaches if he became his partner or sharecropper on the eve of the sabbatical year, and upon the conclusion of the sabbatical year he borrowed from him, the oath may be extended. Therefore, the initial inference must be correct. Conclude from it that an oath incurred by rabbinic law may be extended. The Gemara affirms, conclude from it that this is so. Amar Avuna says,